One thing I'm learning about life is that the light and the dark exist within all of us. And I think when you try to run away and you try to hide from the dark parts of you, the shadows, the parts that, you may not want people to see, the more your life becomes stressful. The more you have to pretend to be something that you're not actually. And I think when you start to recognize that the darkness is not something that you need to hide or run from, is when you can truly set yourself free. When you can stop hiding behind a mask. When you're finally able to release the aspect that shadow part of you is something that you need to hide, you recognize that you're just human. You recognize that it's okay not to be perfect. It's okay not to be someone that everybody thinks you are, because in the process of living this human experience, you experience the shadow. You experience the darkness. You experience the parts of you that aren't as light. But the thing is, we all have our light and our godly essence, our inner self of love and embodying love. But we also have our dark aspects because we were molded and shaped by our experiences, and those experiences created the shadow. And that's okay too, because that's what makes you you. The shadow makes you you, and there's no reason to run from it. There's no reason to hide from it. Because when you hide from it, you just create more strain on yourself, and you create more of a role to play. But it's when you understand that duality exists, when you understand that it's okay to be light and dark. Because without the light, there is no darkness. And without no darkness, there is no light. There is no contrast. There is nothing to contrast between the light and the dark. But it is okay to have both. And that's what I have struggled with all my life, pretending that I was always just the light. But when the truth is, I am the light and the darkness. I am the shadows and the illumination. Because when I've tried to put on that mask of perfection, was when I got myself caught up. Because you can't pretend not to have darkness for too long. It'll come out eventually. The true you and the things you've been through and the experiences you've had will come out eventually. I'm a firm believer of that. But I'm also a firm believer that we don't have to let our shadow overcome us. We don't have to continue the vicious cycle of allowing the shadow to be something that is looked down upon or shamed or not normal. Whatever normal is, right? So I think life is about just accepting all aspects of yourself, whether they be light, whether they be dark. There is no good, there is no bad. There is a contrast between you and your human self and you and your inner self, but there doesn't need to be a separation. I think when we separate and we divide ourselves into two separate things is when we feel like we have to be one or the other at different points, or we can't be one or the other. But the truth is, you can be both. You can be both dark and light all at once, all together. And I know it hurts sometimes to think about how much you've been through and how that shadow aspect shows up, and it may not be the thing that you want to show others, but when you learn to accept your shadow, whether it be things as far as your insecurities or any traumatic experiences that have built up in the shadow, in the subconscious, I think when you learn to accept that for yourself, you no longer have shame over it. It's no longer something to hide. It is just there. It's nothing to hide. It's nothing to pretend like it doesn't exist. Because I think the more you try to hide aspects of yourself, the more likely it's going to be shown to other people. The more likely it's going to be shown that, hey, this is my insecurity. These are my shadows, and it's going to come out sooner or later. And it's about already having ownership of that shadow and knowing that it coexists with a part of you and it's not separate from you. That's a big thing. Stop dividing yourself. Stop separating your imperfect qualities with the perfect qualities that you show other people. Stop dividing yourself into pieces. You're not a puzzle. You don't have to divide yourself into pieces. You're a one entity. You're a whole. You just have different parts of you. Right? It's like a continent. Different countries make up that continent, but at the end of the day, that continent is one. It's not separate. It's one. And I think when I have cleared my mind to realize that I'm not a separate entity of myself, I'm one. I just possess different aspects of myself that may always not be the light part. They may be the shadow part. They may be the darkness, but guess what? I still am me. I still am Ja. I'm not separated from myself when I'm not experiencing the light part of myself. I am still me. And recognizing that I am still me in those moments of darkness is what keeps my vision clear, what keeps my mind clear. I think it's just best to remember that it's okay to have both. It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to show up in the world as a version of you that they may not know you as. Because one of the biggest things that we seek as humans is a place to authentically be ourselves and show all aspects of ourselves. But I think the first place that you should feel safe in doing so is within you. Do you feel safe being yourself? Do you feel safe within your own skin, being who you are? Do you accept your own light and darkness? Because how can other people accept your duality if you cannot accept your duality? If you do not complete a union with yourself, how can you make a union with anybody else around you? To come in union with yourself is to come in union with you and your inner God, you and your inner spirit. But there has to be an acceptance that those two are not separate from each other and they are all one.